on YouTube. People are taking what happens on YouTube off of YouTube and meeting their opposition in real life with threatening consequences. People are threatening to do everything from fight to murder to kill, all kinds of things. And my thing is this. We have all kinds of songs in our culture about pulling up and bravery and being able to ride or die and being able to face down an enemy. And so many content creators are the number one people. They'll have these chat rooms full of hundreds of people and they fan the flames of discord. They fan the flames of fighting, nonsense, arguing, doxing, swatting, calling CPS, all this other stuff. And they love it. And then when a victim, especially a person who is being cyber bullied, because some people are getting what they deserve, but some people like myself just, we make great targets for certain individuals. And I mean, when people who have gotten cyber bullied have had enough, they do one of two things. They either break down on themselves and, there's a suicide attempt or suicidal ideation, some mental health, needs that they end up having, or they blow up on the people who have harmed them. And my thing is, if pulling up is so bad, then isn't the things that cause a person to pull up bad as well? So for example, I'm not going to name any names, but I got to my wit's end with a YouTuber who, and actually, should I save this? I'll probably save that for Mocha Mommy's panel because again, it's about, classy clapbacks. But well, pulling up is basically like, somebody says some egregious things to you and then finally you go to see them or they do something to you. I know on YouTube it's a popular thing to call CPS on people's when you know that a woman's a mother, people will find her address and call CPS on her and threaten to have her kids taken away from her, right? They think this kind of thing is funny. Or, if you have, some kind of record of drugs in your life, people will get you swatted. Okay. I've never done either, right? I've never done either to anybody, but I would be an entire liar if I sit here and said that I never considered pulling up on people. Now, of course, pulling up on people is basically illegal, and that's why it's a bad decision. But I would posit to you right here, right now, that is the only reason it's a bad decision. The only reason it's a bad decision is because you yourself would end up in jail. There would be something wrong. You have people who will dig in the grave in order to hurt somebody on YouTube. You have people who will go and grab photos of your dead sister, mama, child, defecate on it, urinate on it. You have people who will go and grab pictures of your dead relatives and try to conjure them with different witchcraft and I mean all kinds of stuff. And those kinds of offenses really do dig in the soul of a person. It really does dig in the soul of a person to the point where if this person hauls off and hits you in the face, I'm not going to be surprised and I'm not going to have sympathy for you. Or if this person, it's like people on YouTube, African Americans are doing this thing where walking your talk is becoming a bad thing. We all dance to the song by Migos, Walk It Like I Talk It, Walk It Like I Talk It, right? And my thing is, why even push a person to that point? Every single fight, and I do mean every single fight, every disagreement that I have gotten into on YouTube, I have done so without dragging anyone's kids, without dragging anyone's parents into the mix, without calling CPS, without having anyone swatted. I just have never done these things. I've actually stopped these things from happening. I've actually fallen out with people because I have been a wrench in the system when it comes to doing these things to people. Now, do some people deserve those actions? Of course, but I haven't been part of it. But I was very much willing once upon a time, some videos that I have removed. Um, I offered a woman $1,000 to meet me. I was like, I will pay you for 5 minutes of your time in a cemetery near you. If you want to sign some waivers with me and some non disclosures with me, I am willing to meet you. Because everything that you said about my mother and about my deceased son, for some reason, I'm not able to let that stuff go. And I want real life problems. And I'm not looking at myself like I'm a bad person because I wanted to fight this woman. I'm looking at myself like she's a bad person because even in all of that exchange, what I never did was talk about her kids, and what I never did was talk about her parents because my issue was the actual issue. Again, I say my issue was the actual issue. It wasn't, I'm just going to try to tear you down and make you look as bad as possible because I'm, some kind of a jealous, whatever woman who doesn't have as much to offer. When women are jealous of other women and they don't have as much to offer, they do anything to tear that woman down. They are so excited to see bad news about her. They are so excited to see people talk about her, gang up on her. And for me, I had so many people ganging up on me. I mean, maybe 20 or 30 people in the course of a year that I was just like, you know what? Like, the only thing that's going to shut you up is if I see you in real life. And so you have all these people popping up like, oh my God, is it really that serious? Is YouTube that serious? And I'm just like, come, African American, reason with yourself. Because if this were not on YouTube, if people were face to face, pissing on each other's deceased relatives' photos, if people were face to face talking crazy about one another's children, you know that that would be a fight. But you love it on YouTube, and you have these keyboard gangsters and these people who are so bold behind a screen. The entire time that I've been on YouTube, whether I've been in a fight or not, I have treated people like I am face to face with him. So there were things, even in the middle of a fight, even in the middle of hating a person, that I was just unwilling to do or say because what that can cause. But when you decide to dig in somebody's family cemetery and mock their dead mother and mock their dead child in the way that they die and change your avatar to the pictures of deceased relatives, and you're calling the cops on people and lying on them so that they can get swatted and so that they can lose their children, why would it be unjust for this person to find you and beat you senseless? There were so many people, in these different chats that I went to, and I went to 3 today, and they were just like, "Oh, I'm so glad nobody got hurt. I'm so glad nobody got hurt." And I'm just like, "You were the main one fanning the flames. You were the main one. Oh, did you see that? Let's play that again. This person whipped out his thing and peed on the photo of the deceased relative of so and so. Ooh." And I'm just like, that's barbaric, though. Why should a person be unwilling to do to your face what you have already done to their heart and their soul? Now, when you walk around with certain principles and inhibitions, people will take you as an easy mark. But really, I am a fire sign. I am a cardinal fire sign. And I know what war means to me. And I have never, look, there are people on YouTube who have gotten into conversations about my mother, who is a great woman who they don't know. I have not returned like with like. because I feel that there is something very sacred about talking about a person's mother. And instead of talking about those people's mother, I'm just like, well, let me show this to so and so who, hi, just forever. It says, and everything you're saying is sick, sad, and true. These folks are wicked. I think it's an incredible thing to talk about someone's dead children. I really do. Because life has no greater test to offer you than outliving your own children. No one expects to bury their own children. Everybody expects to be buried by their children. John Q, the movie with Denzel Washington, right? So when I hear people do something as egregious as talking about people's dead children or relatives, like it was in my case, I get really surprised, like because people will laugh about it, spread it around. Ooh, 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 I don't like that beat anyway. But when that beat pulls up, it's such a problem. It's like, oh, this is just YouTube. No, it was just my heart. It was just my life. It was just my child. Like you didn't have a reason to go there. Nothing in this fight, nothing in this conversation. And if you cannot dictate after you touch somebody in a sacred place, after you violate someone in a sacred place, you cannot dictate how they fight back. I feel zero ways about people who get into fights in real life based off of what they've done on YouTube. Do I think that it's all of it is justified? Hell no. And I need the emphasis of every letter in hell so I can say hell no. Because some people do not have a cause, a justified cause for why they have pulled up. But I'm like this, if you have ever said anything about anyone's dead relatives, their mother, their child, and that person pulls up on you, that's called chickens coming home to roost. You should have enough wherewithal and inhibitions about yourself to know that that's just not where you want to go. Because here's the deal, if you really have a justified enemy and you're not just some jealousy, envious, crazed woman, then what you have against that person should be enough. If the person lied on you, say that. If the person slandered you, say that. If the person, exposed private text messages or whatever it is, say that. If the person, got a bunch of people to believe something about you that wasn't true, say that. If the person talked to you crazy in a chat or, caused dissension and discord between you and someone, say that. But for you to haul off and decide that you were going to go and get someone's elderly parent swatted or call CPS on somebody and make sure they lose their kids and, be pissing on and changing your avatar to people's dead relatives, like that is an act of violence. That is an act of violence, and you cannot convince me that it is other than that. And you have these coward ass people, these cowardly African Americans who literally all they have is a mouth. And so they get to win in the realm of YouTube. They get to win. They get to talk about your dead relatives, your dead kids, and your, family situation and the fact that, you've been, you've got 1, 2, 3 baby dads, blah, blah. Like they get to talk about all that stuff and make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people laugh at you to the point where it's in the thousands because they have a mouthpiece and they get to win in the world of YouTube because they can talk that crap. But see, in the real life, when you're talking on you over YouTube to a woman who's 6 foot and 200 pounds, who comes from a family full of marksmen, who knows a thing or two about how to wield a gun and a knife, and it's like, it's okay because the person is so polite on YouTube and they're so innocent on YouTube and they're so whatever. Oh, I'm going to make a mark out of that person. And then when that person really wants to see you, you're crying violence. Oh, this person is evil. Oh, this person is wrong. No, you were wrong. And you overstepped all boundaries of rationality whenever you dig in the grave against somebody. You have chosen violence. You have chosen violence, and you cannot then call yourself a victim. Watch your mouth out here. That is the problem. All of you fake Christians who I can't stand, who made it easier than it was difficult to walk out of the church and never come back. What happened to the power of life and death is in the tongue? What happened to that? You're actually killing people out here. When you can't, when day in and day out, you can't keep your tongue off of their loved ones. I'm like this, if you have to fight me, fight me, but my mom and my child, my deceased child have nothing to do with this conversation. And you wouldn't need to bring them up if you had a valid gripe against me, just like I never needed to bring up anybody else's mom, children, nothing, because I always have a valid gripe. I will not fight a person until I have a valid gripe. I will not engage in a problem with a person unless I have a valid reason to. And you think it's funny to come together as a conglomerate of people and come down on one person's head, and you don't know what's going on in that one person's head. Some of you are talking about people's relatives who, when that person died, when that person's mother or sister or child died, they wanted to die too. And they lived because they have an ethical issue with suicide. And when you reopen that wound, you are reopening their willingness to face death. And that is an incredibly dangerous thing to be dealing with. When you're dealing with people who are triggered by the death of a loved one. This is why your mama jokes always got you in a fight in elementary school and middle school and high school, because it was crossing the line. It wasn't okay. Now, here's the deal. There are certain people on YouTube who I really believe use YouTube as a playground, and you can tell in the integrity that they walk with. Like, there are roasters, right? There's something called the roast sector. And there are people who just genuinely roast other people, and they're just like, hey, man, I don't have no problem with you. I don't want to fight with you. I'm not taking this that serious. And somebody who is the epitome of that, I think, is Beasley for president. Beasley for president doesn't take anything to heart. He doesn't, what he dishes and what is dished out to him, he doesn't take to heart. And there's nobody he can't make up with, that he can't forgive, that he can't let stuff go, because he never meant it that way. He's a roaster. That's okay for a roaster. I agree with that. I can shake hands with a roaster. But some of you are drop dead serious out here, and you're not a roaster. Some of you don't have the integrity and follow the rules and regulations of a roaster. Some of you can't wait to print out pictures of dead people and desecrate them. Some of you can't wait to talk about somebody's miscarriage, stillbirth, and I'm just like, that is a violent thing to do. Watch your mouth. You think just because, like here's the deal. I heard DC, the Purple Diva, get really upset the other day. And if you know anything about DC, the Purple Diva, you know that she's not a woman who was given to flippant anger. She's a very self-controlled woman. But when she started to get upset, I realized in that moment that there's a lot of women on YouTube who bark up a big game. But if they were ever to really get into it with DC, the Purple Diva, they would get hurt. On a face-to-face level, they would get hurt. She wasn't even on a 10. She might have been on a DC purple. She might have been on a DC level 3, okay? But DC, the Purple Diva, classy as she is, educated as she is, she's still from DC. And sometimes it's the decent people who have some inhibitions about themselves who you don't want to see upset. Sometimes those are the people that you don't want to see let go and give in to anger. But people think it's so funny to find somebody who they think is an easy target and to mark them for cyberbullying. And I'm just like, if that person retaliates in any kind of way, like you started a problem. What happened to the ancient African American adage of don't start no ish, don't start none, won't be none. But you start something, and then when a person responds or retaliates, you're just like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, were they supposed to lay down and take it? I mean, because if you lay down and take it willingly, you're not really a victim, you're a participant. Are they supposed to lay down and take it? Are you truly against pulling up? Or are you against pulling up because you're a weakling? Are you against pulling up because out of principle, or are you against pulling up because you don't have any guns? You don't have any knives. You don't have any hands. You don't have any MMA. You don't have any Krav Maga. You don't have any Muay Thai training. You don't have any concrete street fighting. Like, tell the truth. Are you all of a sudden this moral Christian person who is against pulling up because you weren't against any of the nasty things that were said in your chat. You weren't against any of the fire that you were. I mean, these people are gasoline to a fire. These people are matches. These people are kerosene. I'm just like, you promoted this fight so big, so bad, so much. And like I said, I'm not speaking on a specific subject. I'm just saying in general. All over Black YouTube, all over there is the Black sector, the roast sector, the conscious community, the inward sector. And I'm just like, people will drag each other for hateful filth and then get mad when it has real life consequences. You have to realize that you already had real life consequences for someone else, and you thought it was okay. There are people on YouTube who have lost their jobs because of other YouTubers. There are people on YouTube who have lost their rental properties, or their rental homes, or the homes that they rent because of other YouTubers. Like for example, people send letters to Crystal and Karazin's neighbors. They send letters to her home. They call her phone. Different people they do all kinds of stuff trying to handicap her and her business. And of course, they don't, because she's a successful woman. She's very classy. She understands the art of a good clapback, or not clapping back at all. But I'm just like, the hypocrisy is so thick. I mean, do you get it? Like, do you hear what I'm trying to say? If you talk to any therapist, if you talk to any counselor, if you talk to anybody who was given to psychological studies, they're going to tell you that inflicting a physical wound on somebody is the same as inflicting an emotional one. And sometimes the physical wound will heal faster than the emotional one. Some of you were told you were fat, ugly, and stupid when you were babies, and you never let it go, even though you're thin, beautiful, and brilliant. But you never let it go because somebody gave you that, like a broken record, and it did something to your soul. It did something to your development. It did something to how you feel about yourself and how you navigate the world. It stunted your growth, and you're less than what you would have been, because you would have, had you not had such a negative person in your life. Maybe there were things you never did in your life because you were afraid. I was telling my partner the other day, because I had a really very perfect body growing up, more than what I knew what to do with. But grown women, I could be a teenager, and grown women in their 20s and 30s and 40s would be so hard on me about my body that I never knew what it was like to wear a bikini to a pool or a bikini to a beach, because I was constantly being abused for looking better than everyone else. I was constantly being put down. Even when I was a virgin, called so many whores because it's a small waist and a round thing in your face. and it's huge boobs and it's whatever else and it's I've never been pregnant, so my stomach is flat as a floor. And they would attack me so much that I really struggled with my self-esteem and people would gang up on me all the time. And it was to the point where people would be so invested in breaking the way that I looked at myself that they would pretend to be friends. They would, I'm just trying to be a friend, you look like a hoe in that, and I'm just trying to look out for you, you look like this and this and this. And I'd be like, oh, okay, thank you. And I walked around dressed like a dude. Did you hear me? I walked around dressed like a dude. Like when it was time to go like back to school shopping, I would go to the men's side of the store, you guys. Sagging, bagging my clothes, wearing boxers, like all kinds of stuff because I was afraid of looking like a girl because to look like a girl in my body was to look like a whore. And I believed what these people were saying to me because so many people were saying it so consistently. I had no idea it was jealousy. And I'm just like, I was talking to my partner. I was like, I don't even know what it is to wear a bikini in public. I don't know what it is to wear a one-piece bathing suit without wearing shorts and a t-shirt over it. And I see all these girls, on Instagram or on TikTok, and they're so free, and I'm so happy for them. And but also when I look at them, I remember that I wasn't as free because I had so many people speaking so much hate into my life. And all I'm trying to say with this story is that words matter. What you say to people matter. And it's a cowardly thing to think that your speech will not have consequences in this life or in the next. For you Christians out there who are constantly Jesusing people when it doesn't benefit you. You're going to meet these consequences in this life, or you're going to meet them when you die. And because you don't know what the afterlife holds, you better hope that you pay your dues in this life. But it would be better to just don't mess with people like that. Make up in your mind today that you're not going to be talking about somebody's dead children. There literally is no reason. There can never be a reason, a justification. There's nothing that you can say. There's nothing. There's nothing. Everything that I said here, I want you to understand that it's not made up. When I say that there are people pissing on people's photos of their dead sisters, brothers, and relatives, like all of that is really going down on YouTube. All of that is really happening. Thank you, Divested Zealot. I appreciate you so much. And if you still want to, here is Uppity Unicorn. This is my Cash App. If you want to support me, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But I mean, why I just don't understand why you would even fix your mouth to say that kind of thing. Like I deal with a lot of slander, right? I deal with a lot of slander. I've been called a lot of things on YouTube. And for the most part, how I dealt with it was deciding to isolate myself from certain groups of people. That's why I said, because even when I showed up in one of those chats that I had no business being in, there was more slander, there was more lying, there was more, whatever. Because some people, I know for a fact that if I pulled up on half of the people or any of the people, each and every person in my history of YouTube who has ever given me a problem on YouTube, if I pulled up in person by myself, they would talk different. I'm an intimidating person to look at. Just to see me walking down the street, like the experience that Black men have when white women, you walk past them and they grip their purses. When I used to like dress like that, like people would do the same thing with me. I'm a big, strong person. I mean, to the point where it's abnormal. And I know that those situations wouldn't go down the same way that they've gone down on YouTube. But the thing is, that should never have to occur because I can speak to you, and you should be able to speak to me without speaking about my mother. You should be able to speak to me without speaking about my child. You should be able to speak to me. This is why, according to the American legal system, you can sue someone for slander because it really does hurt. And you think, well, I didn't hit her. Well, it's not like I spit in her face. Well, it's not like I know somebody, if you play with his food the wrong way, you might not make it out alive. If you touch his food while he leaves the room, you might not make it out alive. And I don't have a problem with that. Because why are you touching his food anyway? This is how some of the most notable people in history were killed. If you're talking about Socrates, what didn't he drink hemlock? Wasn't it some hemlock tea that took him out? Wasn't Cleopatra drugging people right and left? Thank you so much for whoever sent the cash out. What wasn't, Cleopatra putting flowers and pretty things in people's food? It's like, oh, that's so cute. And it was poisonous. And especially when you're Black and you're from the South, you understand what it is to lay a trick. You understand what it is for somebody to put something in your food and all of a sudden you can't focus, you can't think, you can't concentrate, your money changes, like all kind of stuff because somebody played with your food. And so this man that I know that you can't play with his food can trust me around his food because he knows nothing is going to happen because I respect that as a boundary. And other people would say, well, it's just food. You can throw it away. You can get another. Why would you? Hey, you don't get to judge. It's a boundary. Don't cross it. That's it. And that's about food. It's an unspoken boundary when it comes to your mom or your dead relatives. Now, it would be one thing if the relative was a crappy person and you hated that person, but like in my case, it was my son. My son who was free of sin, my son who suffocated to death while I was in labor. Why would you talk about him? And why would you think? I mean, because the thing is, people want to see you squirm. They want to see you hurt. They are happy in your pain. They're happy they rejoice in your pain because a man that they likes you. They rejoice in your pain because a woman who doesn't want to be her friend wants to be your friend. And they will do these things to dig in the soul of you just because of something as shallow as that. And my whole thing is, if something as shallow and impersonal as that hurt your feelings, imagine what something that is incredibly directed, like incredibly personal about my child, that there's only one way for me to be with my child. There is only one way. There's some things you can't ask people for forgiveness for. You can't ask people for forgiveness for certain things. If they offer it to you, great. But some of these things, like, you have no right. The character on my mother breaks down grown men who have murdered grown men. Some of the roughest, toughest men will cry in my mother's bosoms. She's a saint. Now, I know a lot of these Negroes on YouTube, they have these trash human beings for mothers. I don't. That's not my story. I have a person where my child mother relationship with my mom has never been broken by being a foster child or being given up or being abused sexually or like it has never been broken. That sacred bond is still that sacred bond. And for you to try that bond makes me want to try your life. And that is a natural human inclination. That is a very natural human inclination. I have a friend who you can't mess with. She's not my sister. She's not my kin. She's not my blood. But because of who she is, I might not know how to act. And so what we do with our snooty behinds, what we do with our snooty behinds is that we just stay away from certain people. Some people aren't worth talking to because the moment you speak to them, they hit below the belt. Hey, Mocha Mommy, I'm really excited about this. Hi, Lima. I'm really excited. By the way, everybody, we're winding down for our Mocha Mama Mommy panel. It starts in a few minutes, right, Mocha Mommy? 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Some of this stuff is lower than demonic behavior. Like some of this stuff we don't even have the language for because there are demons. And I'm a person who has studied several religions. I'm a person who has studied the occult. I'm a person who, I mean, I've got all kind of books around the house on my channel, whatever it is. And some of this stuff, there are demons that wouldn't even go there. There are straight up demonic energies. There are straight up demons who wouldn't perform some of the actions that these people have. It's like if you want to lay a trick on somebody, like I got really worried about Lady Law when I guess somebody left she said something like a can in a paper, but when she said can in a paper in my yard, I heard somebody laid a trick, right? And there are certain energies, there are certain Lawa, there are certain Orisha, there are certain Ori, there are certain, spirits of Pombajit or like whatever, who like, if you don't have a justified cause for what you're doing, not only will they refuse to harm that person, they will harm you with what you meant to harm that person with, because even demons are principled. They've been around for way too long. Some of these energies are thousands of years old, eons old, and you think you can play them because you're just a bad, unevolved person. I contacted the first person I knew who could get to her, and I'm just like, hey, tell her don't touch it. I don't know what that, tell her don't touch it. Have somebody put on some gloves and destroy whatever it is. Speak over that thing, say, I cancel the assignment of the enemy who would harm so-and-so, insert whatever her legal name is. I know it ain't Lady Law, but make sure like she disposes of that thing in the right way. Because we don't know what it is. But as much as like, because I've heard people on YouTube, with all due respect to, our sister Zakia, say things like, oh, these people are demonic, demonic, demonic. No, the demons are better than you. The demons are better than you. You're a lower breed. You're a lower breed. You shouldn't be surprised when people pull up. You should expect people to pull up. If somebody says they're going to hurt you, you should expect that it's going to happen. That's why you take threats to the police. You shouldn't assume that a threat is an empty threat, even if it is. But my thing is this: don't go that far on people. Leave people's kids out of it. Leave people's parents out of it. I'm about to go and get ready for the classy clapback panel on Mocha Mommy's channel, and I would love to see each and every one of you here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my coffee and then hit that link. Let's see. Audra says, yes, for me, someone disrespects me, there will never be forgiveness, and there doesn't have to be. No apologies accepted. They did what they did on purpose. My thing is this: people try to manipulate victims by saying, oh, you have to forgive for you. Forgiveness is for you. No, letting go is for you. Letting go and moving on with your life is for you, but you can be completely fine going about the rest of your life for the rest of the days that you shall live without forgiving a person. It's your right. It's your right to forgive or withhold judgment. You can forgive, or you can forego, or you can say no. You can say, no, I want you to pay for that in the afterlife. I want you to pay for that either here. And if you don't recompense me here, I'm praying that my Lord, my Savior, that whatever I believe in, visits you with the level of harm you hurt me with in your grave, in your soul, in your after, like it's your choice. You're telling somebody who was raped they have to forgive a rapist? No, they don't. Somebody who was beaten, they have to forgive the person who beat them? No, they don't. You just need to watch what you do to people because you cannot dictate how they act. And to tell people that they have to forgive, like, I mean, that's a form of gaslighting a victim. Nobody has to do that with you, for you, because of you. No one has to forgive you. You're sorry, dad. The children that you abandoned don't have to forgive you. The children that you never took care of, oh, come on, he's your dad. Yeah, exactly. I'm the child in this relationship. They don't have to. They can be happy without forgiving you. They cannot have you on your mind. There are people on YouTube who swear, I mean, they're outside of their minds on drugs. I don't know what they're on, but they swear that I have thoughts of them in my mind and that I think of them and that I'm constantly, and I'm just like, dude, you're like a dead person to me. I feel like I'm being approached by an apparition. The day I let you go was the day that I let you go. Did I forgive you? No, but I did let you go. My cutoff is so efficient. I mean, numbers blocked, addresses changed. I will move on a person. I mean, now whatever address I was doxxed at, don't live there anymore. Whatever email address that person, don't have it anymore. Whatever phone number, new phone, who's this? Because pulling up is so dangerous to yourself, the best thing to do is to just not deal with people with this kind of character. I know that if I get into a fight with my partner today or my friend today, I know that our fight is going to stay above the belt. I know that they're not going to dig up my son. There are strangers. There are people I'm not that close to. I know that if I fell out with Mocha Mommy for the rest of my life, I know what she would not do is dig up my son from his grave and throw his corpse in my face. And that's not some special level of decency. You're supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be like that. Thank you guys so much for exactly. I agree with you, Zakia. You don't have to forgive, but you release that person from your space. Yeah, you can be really happy without forgiving people. You can be super happy. You can be super fulfilled and just know. I mean, on site is a promise. On site is a problem. But by the time you get on site, it's on site out of your mouth. That is a promise without expiry. Period. As it should be, because you should have thought about what you did. You should never have gone there on that person. People get to say on site over their kids and parents. They get to do that. They have a right. And because I believe so much in that right, what I have never done, what you will never see, is me talking crazy about somebody's kids or parents. That's a boundary. You don't go there. I'm uppity. I'm out of here. I will see you on Mocha Mommy's channel. Here's the deal. I love you all. Everybody under the sound of my voice, the members of my channel, the people who are not members. I get really emotional on my channel because I'm a lover. I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned about your well-being. I'm concerned about how people treat one another. The world is getting so complicated with so many different diseases and sicknesses, with so much going on with our world's economy, with so much going on with depopulation programs, with so much going on with anti-Black discrimination. We can't afford to be these kinds of people. And because you can't change everybody else, it's like, you almost have to quarantine yourself from certain types of Negroes. I mean, there are so many women who talk about, divest this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, we can divest from Black men, but you're the type of Black woman people need to divest from too. You're trash. You're trash. The way you talk about people, the way you engage people, the way that you revel in, like, no, you're trash. People need to excommunicate you. Why are you guys still here? You're supposed to be on Mocha Mommy's channel already.